Hi, Lorraine. So nice to see you.
Nice to see you too.
I am very excited to be here to talk about some of what I'm considering my most exciting summer plans, which is the Form 1 and 2 classes in New York
Form.
City.
Yes,
I'm planning
form
my whole
coming
summer
to
around them.
NYC. It's been a while. Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't taken these classes. There's some of the only classes of yours that myself and many of your students have not taken. And I think we're all really curious what to expect. And, the history of how these classes came about is really it's always fascinating for students.
Yeah. Well, the form classes, they're very dear to my heart. They're very
Mhm.
special to me. And when I was asked to be a teacher back in 2005, the very same conversation where Rick Weinman invited me to be a teacher, I was kind of stunned and I said, "Oh, yes, great." And he said, "Oh, that's wonderful because in addition to teaching classes, you're going to be bringing in a new class." And I had no idea what he was talking about. He just kind of said in the moment that I would be, in addition to the classes that were already being taught, that I would bring in something of my own expression, a transmission by Merlin. And, he didn't know exactly what it was, but he was very clear that this was something that I could do. And
Wow.
so that kind of freaked me out a little bit because I didn't
Yeah,
know
no pressure.
yeah, I couldn't do people do that? Is this done? But other, different teachers, as you well know, have brought in, unique transmissions. Anthony with, all the higher level earthworks classes and Merlin's puzzle and Galen with that beautiful angelic heart series. And so this was something I was going to bring to the lineage. It took a couple years because I really had to sit with it and see what was going on. But what came through was a transmission by Merlin that really brings you into your body. The
Wow.
transmission itself really pulls you into form, and sometimes kicking and screaming, because we
Yep.
all have reasons why we want to check out of form, things that we don't want to feel. This pulls you in. And so the bringing consciousness to form becomes an anchoring and an exploration of the form of the human energy system. A lot of the stuff that we talk about very briefly in foundational, and we energetic bodies and chakras, that we go through incredibly quickly. Form is the place where we explore that. So we really use breathing and running divine lines to really get our awareness into different parts of the form, which brings our awareness into how issues sit in form. So to my great surprise, and I didn't realize this until it was actually taught, that the form class actually deepens sensing because it brings your awareness into the web lines of your system and how we hold tension patterns. And so we explore all of that. As well as, other things we can't talk about in other classes. Like we sort of talk about feeling the different elements in the classes. And I use movement, very gentle movement and breathing, which is completely different from other vortex classes. You're not just sitting there in meditation, you're actually moving. Because for me, I was never one to sit still, and a lot of my self-exploration happened when I was distance running or doing yoga, when I would, be an experience of something moving and then hit up against something that was stagnant. And so I'm sort of using very gentle yoga, stretching, stuff that I learned from my background as teaching yoga and as a personal trainer and, facilitating movement workshops to sort of explore what that is. So it's very exciting and it's kind of scary because I
Yeah.
know when I'm experiencing some kind of issue, my first instinct is to stop moving. I don't want to feel that. I shut down. And so, it takes something. It takes some courage to actually get in there and begin to open that up. So that's the nature of the form. It's 3 days of that kind of exploration. Form 2 came in a couple years later. I call it Form 2. The proper name of the class is Bringing Consciousness Through Form. And that is a post-Corveil class. And that is an embodiment class. That is about feeling divine intention moving through form and moving from that. Right, exploring the difference from our difference between our personal intention and moving from there, and divine intention moving through and as us. And so there's more sort of partner work and mirror exercises and really exploring what it is to be in the flow of divine intention. And of course, whatever stands in the way of that. A beautiful transmission comes in that I like to call Heart Nectar, which is a way of sort of bringing love to some of the harder places in our system when we're exploring, the hard stuff, bringing in Heart Nectar to really feel safe within that and to open that up. So whereas in the 2 form class, I'm using a lot of my background as a yoga instructor, personal trainer, and all of that, Form 2 has a lot to do with my theater background.
Oh, wow.
And, exercises with being, present in a particular way and taking that embodiment out into the world. Again, not just in meditation, but bridging that through and seeing that in others, exploring presence in that way. So those are the classes.
Amazing. It sounds, I love that the first class 2 form is foundational level. Foundational students can have this profound experience and then come, deepen and get this embodiment. And I've always felt you talk about your background as a personal trainer and a yoga instructor, and it feels really, your classes have always felt really grounded to me in a way that helps me feel safe and nurtured and supported through my process. But there's a really stark contrast from the fact that we just kind of sit for 5 days, and it's often not until I'm in a yoga class when I'm, when I'm finished with the class and I've had the whole experience, that I'm actually feeling how much has moved and shifted. And I'll be like, wow, it's amazing that I haven't moved in 5-10 days, but I'm more flexible, I'm more fluid, I'm more free internally. So the idea of getting to kind of experience that in real time has always seemed so profound to me. But these classes haven't been taught in a while.
They haven't been taught. I just felt that this was something that was really needed in the lineage. I mean, the transmission just comes through, but in crafting it, let's really explore this. Let's bring some movement and breath, into the lineage in this way. And no, they haven't been taught. The last time I taught the form classes was in Holland in 2017. And these classes, they're typically on a 2-year cycle. So I was going to do it in 2019, but I realized that there was an overhaul to the transmissions that were coming through. And I don't know if you've ever had the experience where you're going to do something that you're used to doing, and then suddenly you have the feeling that you don't know what you're talking about. Maybe you don't have that. I have that. And usually that's an indication that something has shifted and a new level has come in, and you need to dig a little deeper, perhaps look at it from a different angle. And I just had this feeling that there was a different element coming into the forms, and there was an overhaul to it. And I sort of put it off to 2020 because of venue things and because of the overhaul process. And then we know what happened in 2020. No on-ground classes were happening at all. And this definitely needs to be on ground. The transmission is too dense to do it at distance. And people need the support, There's more partner work in a particular way. And, I want to be sure to spot people and demonstrate the movement. The movement's not physically challenging. I've had people with disabilities, physical disabilities in the class. None of that's a problem. But, you want to sort of be clear on what's happening and provide people with a safe structure for moving. And the group field is just unique in that it just really needs to be done in person. And now the world is opening up. And now we're starting to do classes on ground again. So it seems to be the time. I think the new element that's coming in as it's shaping up is not just a deeper level of awareness of the form, but your relationship to the form.
Mm.
Yeah, it's big. It's not just an
Yeah.
exploration of the form, but how we experience ourselves and how we relate to the issues, and an element of shame in the form, and how we, avoid certain things, and what it means to be in form, and the discomfort that naturally arises with being in form, exploring that relationship. Because if we have a healthier relationship to the form and with the form, it opens up the exploration. We feel much safer in working with it and playing with it. And it should be an explorative, playful process, but sometimes it can be hard.
Well, especially as you said, the world is opening up, but parts of us still feel really stuck. Speaking for myself, it's been incredibly hard to do yoga in the pandemic, because actually being with the truth of how I feel has been so difficult. So this idea of being in a space where Merlin is helping with that, and it sounds like, if I understand correctly, the bringing consciousness to form is kind of this embodiment process. And then through form, it's a deepening. I've heard, I believe Rick say that, it really deepens your awareness of awakening in your system and how to live from that place, which I think, those of us who are post Corvale and still waiting to feel like it's, easier to live from that space, that sounds really supportive and wonderful.
Yeah, that's the plan. And it is. I mean, we're all always looking for different ways of finding that and experiencing that. So, we're going to bring, some movement and breath to the table here. So, and there's one other thing, little side note, because it's on ground and in person and in New York City, there's going to be a field trip to the New York Post Office.
Yes,
and why this is so important for those of you to understand, the randomness of that. There's something very special about the New York Post Office. It is, in fact, we call it an interdimensional rift. And we sort of talk about it in other classes and what that means, but we'll actually do, since it's so close, we'll do a field trip. And everyone will get a rift gift. We do.
I can't wait.
Just kind of a random something that we can do because we're in person again, and let's get together and let's enjoy, each other in this way.
Yeah, what a treat. I can't wait. And you said that this class came to you when you were actually in Argentina. Is that correct?
No, I mean, I think, Rick told me that it would happen when he invited me to be a teacher, but I had no idea what it would look like. What happened when I was teaching in Argentina, and then Robert joined me and we had a vacation. And it wasn't until I was done teaching and just relaxed and I started breathing into the divine lines of my form. And I began sort of using that as a tool to let go of tension. And I realized how effective that was as a means of exploring the form, and how grounding it was. It was like, this is sort of the technique that we're using. This is our baseline. And sort of apply that to, all the different kinds of exercises that we do in class. So it just kind of arose. It's so natural that it was like, oh, this is it, and it's like, yes, this is it. It's actually that simple. All it requires is a willingness, to be present with what arises when we explore the form.
Well, you are such a fabulous facilitator of that. So, like many Vortex Healing students, planning my vacations around the classes, excited to do that and traveling in person. And yeah, I can't wait to get to roll around on the ground in my yoga pants with a bunch of wizards this
We're
summer.
gonna do it. I mean, what's better than that? Nothing I can think of.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Lorraine. This is, I think, going to really help folks understand what, perhaps why they should prioritize their summer vacation around this.
Okay. Well, I look forward to seeing you there. Thank you so much, Laura.
Thanks.